Why do you think people love Caitlin Clark, besides her skills?
She can shoot threes from logo.
We never seen that before. That's my point. Steph Curry, a little kid. Like, Steph Curry, I love, you know why I love Steph Curry? Because I've never seen that before. She's doing stuff we've never seen before. Never seen nobody do that on a consistent basis. There's a lot of girls in WNBA that have done it in spurts, but, you know, that game I'm watching y'all in the Final Four, I'm like, damn, like, so I'm telling you now, if you just lower it like this. Right there. I'm not saying go right there. I'm just, you know what y'all need to do one day?
Did you see what Shaq just said about Caitlin Clark? He called her the real deal. That's huge coming from a legend like Shaq. But here's the crazy part. Wasn't he all about Angel Reese before? Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Imagine being Angel Reese right now. You're on top of the world, got Shaq's backing, and then boom, he's suddenly Team Clark. What made Shaq flip so fast?
I figured that you were going to do it your way, and you talk a lot of and you back it up. So you're my type of player.
Yeah,
I like
people
it.
didn't like that.
It does. See, you have to understand, like I tell you this all the time, the day you stop caring about is the day you're going to be even more popular than you are now. Like,
Right.
I hate when you grab your phone. Like, bro, if your salary don't pay your rent, like, you have to realize if a person can pick their phone up and write a 2-3 minute comment, that means you.
Yeah.
And remember, it could be worse. Nobody could be looking at you.
Yeah,
And
it's because of who
Caitlin
I am.
and all these other girls. I don't want to forget. And let's not forget Lisa, Leslie, Cheryl Cooper, and all that.
Yeah.
They paved the way. But somebody said this the other day and it made a lot of sense.
Was it Clark's insane three-point shooting? Her clutch plays? Or is there more to this story? Remember when Shaq was all about Angel Reese? He was calling her his daughter and everything. It was like Reese could do no wrong in Shaq's eyes. He'd been Team Reese since her LSU days, hyping her up every chance he got. And it wasn't just talk. Shaq put his money where his mouth was and signed Reese to Reebok. That's a big deal, right? A legend like Shaq backing you financially and emotionally. But then something wild happened. Caitlin Clark started doing things in the WNBA that Shaq had never seen before. It was like watching a video game character come to life on the court. At first, Shaq was skeptical. He's seen it all, right? Or so he thought. Picture this. Shaq's watching Clark in the Final Four. I'm probably thinking, okay, she's hot right now, but she can't keep hitting those long shots. But Clark had other plans. She kept nailing 3 after 3, each one more ridiculous than the last. It was like she had some kind of cheat code for basketball. You could almost see Shaq's jaw dropping lower with each shot. This wasn't supposed to happen. Clark was making shots that even some NBA players would think twice about attempting, and she was doing it consistently, like it was no big deal. As the game went on, you could almost feel Shaq's opinion shifting. It was like watching someone's whole worldview change in real time. Clark wasn't just good. She was doing things Shaq had never seen before. And remember, this is Shaq we're talking about. The guy's seen everything in basketball. By the end of the game, Shaq was speechless. He'd just witnessed something that challenged everything he thought he knew about women's basketball. It was a moment of realization. Maybe he'd been wrong about Clark all along. And here's the kicker. Shaq, being the straight shooter he is, actually admitted it. He came out and said he'd been a hater because he was down with Reese. Can you believe that? Shaq, one of the most dominant players in NBA history, admitting he was wrong about a player. It's not often you see someone, especially someone as big as Shaq, both literally and figuratively, do such a complete 180. But that's the power of Clark's game. She's not just changing the scoreboard, she's changing minds. But here's the thing, Shaq's not the only one noticing Clark's game. Her impact is spreading way beyond just one NBA legend. You know what's crazy? Clark's not just impressing Shaq, she's changing how people see women's basketball altogether. But here's the real question. Is she really as good as everyone's saying? Or is this just a bunch of hype? Let's break down what's really going on with the Clark effect. First off, Clark's not just playing basketball. She's putting on a show that's drawing comparisons to some of the biggest names in the NBA. We're talking Steph Curry levels of excitement here. She's doing things on the court that are making people's jaws drop, whether they're basketball fans or not. But let's be real for a second, there are still folks out there who are skeptical about women's basketball. They think it's not as exciting or high level as the men's game. Well, Clark's on a mission to change their minds, one ridiculous shot at a time. You want to know what's really wild? Clark's not just hitting threes, she's draining shots from the logo like it's no big deal. We're talking way downtown, folks. Even Shaq, who's seen it all in basketball, is blown away. He straight up said, "Never seen nobody do that on a consistent basis." That's huge coming from a guy who's played with and against some of the best to ever do it. And here's the thing, Clark's game is so electric, so jaw-dropping, that she's actually getting people to tune in who've never watched women's basketball before. Imagine being so good at what you do that you're not just excelling in your sport, but you're actually growing the audience for the entire league. That's the Clark effect in action. Now, let's talk numbers for a second. In her rookie season, Clark's averaging 19.2 points, 8.5 assists, and 5.8 rebounds per game. Those aren't just good numbers. They're leading candidate for Rookie of the Year numbers. She's not just living up to the hype, she's exceeding it. But here's where it gets really interesting. Shaq's not just impressed by Clark's game, he thinks she could be the key to taking women's basketball to the next level. He's even suggested lowering the rim to allow players like Clark to showcase their dunking abilities. Shaq believes that dunks are the NBA's golden moments, and he thinks similar moments could do wonders for the WNBA's popularity. At the end of the day, Shaq's calling Clark the real deal and comparing her range to Steph Curry. That's not just high praise, that's basketball royalty, acknowledging that something special is happening here. But hold up a second, we can't talk about Clark's rise without thinking about what it means for Angel Reese. Remember her? The player Shaq was all about before Clark came along? This whole situation's gotta be a wild ride for her. So what does all this mean for Reese and her future in the league? So here's the deal. Shaq's flip-flop isn't just about him changing his mind. It's about the future of women's basketball. Clark's game is so electric, even the biggest skeptics can't look away. She's not just changing minds, she's changing the whole game. But check this out, it's not just Shaq who's taking notice. NBA legends and current players are all buzzing about Clark's skills. Her deep threes and overall gameplay are earning respect across the board. It's like she's single-handedly bridging the gap between men's and women's basketball. And get this, the WNBA's cooking up some big plans to ride this wave. They're talking about new initiatives to capitalize on the excitement Clark's bringing. Who knows, we might see more NBA stars jumping on the women's basketball bandwagon. The future's looking bright, and it's got Caitlin Clark written all over it.